Tonight, concern over the violence and abuse faced by health workers. The provincial auditor won't investigate the death of a boy from carbon monoxide. And Ottawa backtracks on a new tracking system for cattle.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. Overcapacity concerns are not the only issue ER health workers want the province to address. Hundreds of hospital staff up in Saskatoon say violence in the emergency department is all too common, and it's time to address it. Keenan Sorkon has more on the calls for action.
Melissa McGilvery is hoping a letter signed by more than 200 staff at St. Paul's Hospital Emergency Department will get the attention of leadership.
Perhaps people would pause and listen.
The letter has dozens of testimonials detailing knives, guns, and even a grenade being brought into the hospital. It warns that violent incidents are not only possible, but probable. One worker describes watching a security guard get stabbed multiple times for asking someone in the waiting room to stop smoking. A protective vest helped avoid serious injuries. Another worker describes having a patient spit blood in their face and mouth, and another watched a patient bite a nursing student to the point of bleeding, knowing the harm it would have so early in her career.
I don't want to use the word burnout because it's not that staff don't want to provide care, it's that they don't feel safe to provide care.
The letter calls for leadership to meet with staff and visit the unit outside of photo ops or ceremonies. Workers also want more security on staff and to have metal detectors put in place. Until then, they want security to use the handheld metal detectors they say are in storage.
What I see is that the workers don't really have input into what is happening in their work area.
The union representing security staff at Saskatchewan hospitals says security isn't just calming people down in inpatient waiting rooms, they're also being tasked with addressing serious incidents.
I don't know what security gets paid, but it is not enough.
The SHA says actions are underway to enhance safety and security protocols in facilities, and the piloted use of metal detectors at the Royal University Hospital will help guide future deployment at other urban centers. Health Minister Jeremy Cockrell says he's been meeting with the Saskatchewan Health Authority to discuss these current challenges, and he'll have more to say in the coming days. Keenan Sorkon, CTV News, Saskatoon.
We're getting a better glimpse into Scott Moe's schedule as he heads to China, a trip coinciding with a trade mission from the Prime Minister. According to a senior source within the government of Saskatchewan, Moe was on holiday in Vietnam, and discussions began late last week with the Prime Minister's office about Moe joining a few of the meetings in China. Moe was able to make the arrangements and has secured the appropriate visas for the visit. The mission is focused on restoring trade ties between Canada and China. Meanwhile, Saskatchewan's NDP says all avenues towards creating more access to global markets beyond the U.S. is crucial.
That port access is the number one issue. It's the bottleneck that does not allow us to diversify our markets and be able to make sure that we are able to trade all over the world, not just to the south of us.
The province has been exploring several options for more port access for Saskatchewan goods, including a memorandum of understanding with the government of Manitoba regarding the port of Churchill that was signed last year. Almost a month after an 11-year-old boy died due to a carbon monoxide leak at a Regina apartment building, the provincial auditor says it will not be conducting a separate investigation despite a request from the NDP. Sierra D'Souza Butts tells us more on how the boy's family hopes to spread the word on how important it is to have functioning alarms.
The Provincial Auditor of Saskatchewan has decided not to conduct an investigation of its own into a deadly carbon monoxide leak at an apartment building in Regina last month. 11-year-old Henry Losco died of carbon monoxide poisoning after a leak in his family's apartment building in downtown Regina on December 19th. The NDP sent a letter to the Auditor's office formally requesting a full review of the Technical Safety Authority of Saskatchewan, or TSASC. In a statement to CTV News, the Auditor's office says it recognizes the profound loss of Henry Losco for his family and community and the seriousness of the concerns raised, adding, at this time, it does not plan to initiate or conduct a separate or special investigation. However, a future audit of TSASC's oversight and inspection practices remains an area of potential interest as they plan future audit work. In the meantime, Henry's father, Sergio, tells CTV News that he hasn't received any update about the ongoing investigation, saying, "My son died, and I was minutes away from death. Yet none of the detectors in our unit, an entire fourth floor of the building, sounded any alarm." Adding, his family heard a Sask Energy ad about the importance of installing carbon monoxide detectors on every floor and is thanking Sask Energy for trying to educate landlords about the devastating consequences of not having properly installed and functioning detectors and alarms. When asked for comment, the Ministry of Government Relations says it would be inappropriate to speak to the investigation being led by Regina Fire Services, and TSASC continues to participate. CTV News has reached out to the Regina Fire and Protective Services for an update on the investigation, but did not hear back in time for broadcast. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
At least 4 people have been injured after a school bus rolled over while traveling on a highway in western Manitoba. The incident happened on Manitoba Highway 10, around 57 kilometers north of Swan River, near the Saskatchewan border in the community of Mafking. Multiple children are said to have been treated for serious but non-life-threatening injuries and taken to the hospital. A code orange alert was called at the Winnipeg Health Sciences Centre and the Swan Valley Health Centre. RCMP continue to update the situation once more is known. 1 person is dead after a 2-vehicle crash in Craven. It happened around 6:30 p.m. Monday evening on Highway 20. Emergency services closed the road near Highway 641. Police say a car and an SUV collided. The passenger of the SUV was declared dead on scene. She's been identified as a 65-year-old woman from Regina. Both drivers were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. RCMP continued to investigate with the help of a collision reconstructionist. There has been a slight decline in a number of people that were found to be homeless during last October's annual point-in-time count. Organizations that work with the homeless say the decrease is a step in the right direction. Wayne Mantika has more.
Is there anything that would stop?
Over 150 volunteers took to Regina streets last October to survey how many people were without housing. They found fewer than the year previous.
Even though the numbers were only reduced slightly, we also housed over 400 people in the last year.
The October 2nd point-in-time count identified 767 people without housing. That was 57 fewer than the year earlier, but still far more than a previous count in 2021. Namarand Housing coordinated the pit count.
But I think what the numbers show by this reduction is it shows me that the money that we're spending is working.
Those still facing housing insecurity hope to transition into something permanent soon.
They help you out, those workers in those shelters, so they get you prepared for when you got to go back to society or transitioning into society.
In the meantime, they are grateful for community generosity.
You know what was nice to see during Christmas? There's a lot of people that were stopping by here with donations and keeping us alive, feeding us and stuff.
Like bringing us firewood and stuff so we're not cold at night, and like also food like turkey meals.
Those who organized the annual point-in-time count called it an opportunity to connect with people on the street that possibly could change the direction of people's lives. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
12 Saskatchewan communities saw record-breaking temperatures yesterday. The Cypress Hills area was the warmest record breaker at 10.6 degrees, up just slightly from the record set in 1996. Meadow Lake reached a high of 8.4, beating its old record set of 4.1 in 1985. Prince Albert, Melfort, Nipawin, Waskesiu Lake also setting records. Maple Creek just missed setting a record, but still saw a high of 12 degrees. That was the hot spot in the province. Sabine joins us for our first look at weather. And yeah, today was another unusually warmer than usual day for this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, temperatures perhaps a little cooler in some areas than what we saw yesterday, but still, even here in Regina, we were above zero, +2. Late this afternoon, we will start to see those temperatures gradually cool down below zero as we round out this week and head into the weekend. But again, not much to talk about when it comes to these beautiful temperatures, and not really much in active weather either. If you take a look at that radar satellite, mostly just the cloud cover that we did see coming through parts of the province. Even right now, though, current temperatures in many parts of southern Saskatchewan especially still above zero. Maple Creek sitting at +6. Wind chill also not really playing a factor in many of those temperatures. Still quite cool though far up north. Collins Bay wind chill -28, -26 in Stony Rapids. We don't have those types of temperatures coming anytime soon. However, we will be back into that average -11 range in the next few days. It is the wind speed that we'll be talking more about, and I'll have more details in your forecast. Lee?
All right, thanks, Sabine. The city of Regina says outdoor rinks are being impacted by these warm temperatures. No surprise. Park maintenance crews working on ice loss and will flood rinks once conditions allow. But if conditions become unsafe, the city will temporarily close them until repaired. More info on the rinks can be found on the City of Regina's website. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has put the brakes on proposed changes to animal health traceability requirements. Jacob Carr has more on why the decision was made, along with how it's impacting Saskatchewan cattle producers.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency's decision to hit the pause button on proposed additional regulations on animal traceability is music to the ears of organizations like the Saskatchewan Cattle Association.
Saskatchewan Cattle Association called for a halt to these regulations, and we've been repeatedly and strongly advocating that movement tracking cannot be burdensome or onerous on our producers.
According to Ross, traceability involves the ID of an animal, the premise ID to show where the animal is located, and other tracking of things like disease history. The province's Ministry of Agriculture is also pleased that the federal government has put a temporary halt to the possible changes, saying further discussions are needed with industry stakeholders and provincial agricultural ministers.
The federal minister assured me that we would probably get it on the agenda at the next FPT meeting and have some discussions further on really making sure that the cow-calf producers and others aren't so impacted by some of the regulation changes that CFIA had recommended.
The CFIA says that a modern and reliable traceability system will allow animals to be tracked through the production system, supports faster and more targeted disease response, and helps limit impacts on producers, communities, and trade. But Ross says the regulations as proposed, if passed, will tack on to the workload and the bill for Saskatchewan cattle producers.
For our cow-calf producers, there's going to be a little bit of extra scanning and going to be some more equipment needed and that type of thing. For our fairs and exhibitions, there's going to be some extra equipment.
The CFIA says they will continue to consult about the regulations to those in the cattle industry, along with agricultural associations and governments. Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
Well, leaders in the agriculture industry have gathered in Saskatoon for the Western Canadian Crop Production Show with concerns regarding international trade hanging over the proceeds. Hallie Mandrick has the latest.
As producers from across the country gather for the 43rd Annual Western Canadian Crop Production Show, many are talking about Premier Scott Moe's trip to China and the implications it could have on the industry.
Expectations, I think we're cautious on that. We're optimistic that there'll be some sort of a way forward. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we do anticipate that at some point those tariffs will go away. The sooner the better.
It was announced on Monday that Moe would be joining Prime Minister Mark Carney on the trip to China. Many at the conference shared hope that this move indicates Saskatchewan will have a seat at the table in conversations regarding trade and international tariffs, particularly the hefty tariffs on Canadian canola products.
My optimism would probably be on the higher end now that there's going to be some resolve, if not immediate, probably in the very near future. I would have to think for the Prime Minister to be going that they probably think that there's some end to this, and I would hope that there would be.
Bell says last year's harvest season was fruitful for farmers in Western Canada, but the economic situation has made it difficult for producers to see that reflected in their income.
Unfortunately, a lot of it's still in the bin, so the sooner the better. Obviously, like they're going to want to market that crop and get some cash in hand, both to pay bills, but also there's a crop to plan for 2026.
The pressure to have these tariffs lifted is increasing as producers hope to plan for the spring.
It's obviously something we really do need. It's going to have an impact on a lot of the crush side. It's going to have an impact, obviously, on the market. And it'll also have an impact on what farmers decide to put into the ground as well.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
A major funding announcement from the federal and provincial governments today in Saskatoon. Federal Minister of Agriculture Heath MacDonald joined Saskatchewan Minister of Agriculture David Mair to announce $9.7 million to support crop research in Saskatchewan. It includes $7.2 million for 39 new crop research projects and about $2.5 million to study long-term management of herbicide-resistant kochia and wild oats. Some of this year's crop projects include evaluating the performance of subsurface drip irrigation, resistance to wheat stem sawfly, increasing tolerance to drought for lentils, and validating bale wrapping material made of flax straw and oat hulls.
This ADF program is really valuable in that sense. We can address needs for industry and producer groups, do the necessary research, but also making sure that we're addressing relevant questions for farmers in Saskatchewan and in Western Canada in general.
The money is invested through ADF, the Agriculture Development Fund, under the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership. After the break, Premier Scott Moe and Doug Ford are on opposite sides when it comes to Chinese EV tariffs. And could the Prime Minister sway coastal BC Indigenous leaders about potential major projects?
Greetings, everyone. No matter the circumstances, appearing in court can be a stressful situation. That's why Cody First Nation is adding some support, which is being welcomed by the CAMSAC court system and surrounding Indigenous communities.
Cody First Nation closed 2025 with an important step toward truth and reconciliation. The First Nation is launching a new initiative to provide cultural support in the justice system.
This will open doors of healing and cleansing and possibly lowering the rate of our people that are coming to court.
As of the new year, there will always be an elder at court for those who need guidance, including victims and offenders.
Let's help them through prayer, through smudging, through letting the elders sit here. It's really great to know that we'll have elders sitting in here when they come through the courthouse doors. They have somebody to talk to.
Judge Derek Mahar was in attendance at the blessing ceremony at the CAMSAC courthouse in December. He welcomes the initiative and recalls a previous case in which such counsel made a difference during court proceedings.
So having that elder here unsolicited, a nice man who just shared with the young man, and he gave him advice and direction. And I think ultimately that young man made the right decision.
The initiative was spearheaded by Cody First Nations cultural coordinator a year ago when he realized there is a crisis in his community.
We started having meetings with Sergeant O'Neill and started talking about things that we can do to improve our relationships between the justice system and our communities.
The chief of nearby Kisiku's First Nation said it's monumental to move forward with the program.
Having that opportunity to pray, to smudge, to have those, whether it's the traditional way or whether it's Christian, Catholic, whatever faith denomination, just having that support, having those prayers is very powerful.
Cultural services will be available at the CAMSAC courthouse on Tuesdays. For Indigenous Circle, I'm Frugina Declut in CAMSAC.
If you have a story you would like to see in this segment, here's how to reach us. You can contact me by email, and you can also watch past episodes and segments of Indigenous Circle on our CTV Regina and CTV Saskatoon websites.
Indigenous Circle, brought to you in part by Saskatchewan Indigenous Enterprise Foundation, growing the First Nation entrepreneurial spirit.
Well, automaking powerhouse Ontario does not want cheap Chinese electric vehicles in the market. Neither does Donald Trump. The federal government is sensitive to that fact. Decisions made on Prime Minister Carney's Beijing trip could impact the all-important upcoming talks on the Canada-US-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. Abigail Bimman has the latest.
The U.S. president toured a Ford factory close to our border in Detroit and gave upcoming CUSMA trade talks a shrug.
It's irrelevant to me. Canada would love it. Canada wants it. They need it. Because we don't need Canada product. That's the thing. You know, I want to be a nice person, but we don't need. I want to build the cars here, not in Canada.
Donald Trump also doesn't want cheap Chinese EVs.
Thank you so much.
And flanked by Michigan lawmakers, Ontario Premier Doug Ford urged Mark Carney not to back down on Canada's 100% tariff on them during his trip to China.
It would not be good for Ontario and Canada, and it sure the heck wouldn't be good for the U.S., and it wouldn't be good when it comes to negotiating with President Trump.
Canadian government sources say to expect some progress on punishing canola tariffs, which China slapped on in retaliation for the EVs.
They've been absolutely devastating to the industry. We've lost over $1 billion Canada-wide. Frankly, just even for my farm, I'm just under $100,000 myself, and that really hurts.
But with Saskatchewan's premier now joining for some Beijing meetings.
Would you take, Mo, if you didn't expect some relief, some schedule of lower tariffs on canola? Probably not.
Many are wondering if that means EV concessions are on the table.
China's being very savvy in the way that it's picked areas to tariff to pit one region of the country against another. I think premiers have been very restrained in terms of their approach on this, in terms of not trying to divide the country against itself.
In a briefing ahead of the Prime Minister's China trip, federal government sources spoke of addressing trade irritants on both sides systematically, but wouldn't share details on conversations around canola or EVs. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Now, before heading to China, the Prime Minister spoke to leaders of several First Nations off the BC coast about future major projects like an oil pipeline. But as Mike LeCouture tells us, the face-to-face talk did not change any opinions.
A number of community leaders met with the media after their meeting with the Prime Minister, and they reiterated that their position on a pipeline through their territory has not changed, and they will continue to oppose any project that brings oil tankers to the waters of northwest BC. They said there's no technology that could clean up an oil spill at sea. Adding just one spill would destroy their way of life. And while they did appreciate the fact that Prime Minister Mark Carney came to meet them face to face and his commitment to seek free, prior, and informed consent regarding any proposed project, the answer remains no.
We're not just talking about strategic trade corridors and global trade, but this is our home. This is a responsibility for the nations to look after our territory for now and future generations.
The leaders also point out that the tanker ban legislation isn't partisan. Rather, it's the result of 50 years of consultation and engagement with coastal communities. Now, ahead of the meeting, Prime Minister Mark Carney said it was not a day for big announcements, but rather one for dialogue and listening to what leaders of coastal First Nations in BC had to say. But in a readout from the Prime Minister's office, the pipeline wasn't even mentioned. Instead, it talked about renewing funding and strengthening ocean protections. Carney has said there would be other occasions to work through things. However, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says the federal government needs to move with urgency when it comes to the pipeline. Last week, Smith said it's her intention to submit an application for an oil pipeline to BC's coast to the Major Projects Office by June, and she hopes to have approval by the fall. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Former U.S. President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are refusing to testify in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. The Clintons each had a deadline of today and tomorrow to testify in the congressional investigation. But in an 8-page letter posted on social media, they called the subpoenas to have them testify legally invalid, adding, "The Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee is on a path designed to result in our imprisonment. Republicans are warning they will hold the Clintons in contempt for not complying. Meanwhile, Greenland's prime minister says his nation would rather remain part of Denmark than become a U.S. territory as President Trump continues his threats of a takeover.
Så vil jeg gerne gentage, Grønland er ikke til salg.
The foreign ministers for Denmark and Greenland are set to meet with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio tomorrow. Greenland's prime minister reiterated today the island is not for sale. Trump had said Greenland is vital to U.S. security and America must own it to prevent Russia or China from occupying it. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump is urging protesters in Iran to keep up the pressure on the regime. On social media, Trump urged Iranian patriots to keep protesting and to take over their institutions.
He is doing what I think previous administrations should have been doing for a long time, which is delegitimizing the regime. The United States, I'm just speculating here, the United States may have some on-the-ground intelligence that this could in fact be the moment when the regime topples, and it could be the reason why he's getting so forcefully behind the protesters.
Now, the death toll from the violent crackdown on these protests did jump dramatically overnight, with a U.S. human rights group saying that 2,000 people have been killed. Russia struck several cities in Ukraine overnight, launching one of its biggest missile and drone attacks of the new year. The strikes killed at least 4 people and knocked out power to millions across Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia launched nearly 300 drones, 18 ballistic missiles, and 7 cruise missiles on 8 regions. Power cuts were imposed in the capital, Kyiv, and several other regions, leaving many with no heat in freezing temperatures.
Coming up, a look at disruptive actions by passengers that cause flight disruptions in 2025.
Saskatchewan teams top the Canada West in women's basketball. Wednesday on Your Morning, we are in conversation with the 12-0 Regina Cougars as they continue to climb the national standings.
All right, welcome back. We're going to take a look at what your forecast is looking like heading into your rest of the week. We have temperatures still sitting above zero here in the Queen City, +1, 1.3 to be exact. We did warm up to 2 degrees late this afternoon, and heading into tomorrow, we'll just gradually start to see those temperatures continuing to dip a little bit more. Winds have picked up just a little bit, just under 30 kilometers an hour. Now, as we head into tomorrow, we'll still see the winds not bad. It's not till we get into Thursday where we will see the winds picking up quite a bit right across the province, and we'll talk more about that as I take a look at your 7-day forecast in just a little bit. In terms of the radar satellite, I don't have much to show you there. We had a great day. We did see a little bit of cloud cover, but it's heading into tomorrow. We will start to see a little bit of precipitation coming through, and that really won't affect much of southern Saskatchewan. We will continue to see cloud cover, but you can see it went so fast you didn't even see it. It's a little blip of some snow and freezing rain that we will start to see coming through later in the day. You can see it right there. It was earlier just continuing to stretch down into the parkland, even down into the Yorkton area. Now it looks like we won't really see it make its way into parts of southern Saskatchewan before it's already made its way into Manitoba. Apart from that system, we could see pockets of flurry and scattered snowfall just like that by Thursday morning in parts of the southwest and parts around the Saskatoon area. But when we're talking about accumulation, even when it gets to this point of late afternoon Thursday, we're looking at very trace amounts, less than a centimeter. If anything, could see a centimeter, possibly maybe up to a centimeter, but even then, between now and then, we could see the system completely change like we saw that other one coming through the parkland. It's not this I want to talk about, it's the winds. So we have this snow coming through late Thursday afternoon. The winds are expected to be gusting up to about 80 kilometers an hour in the parkland, up to 85 in and around the Regina area. So a combination between the high winds and the snow, that could certainly affect the visibility if you're driving on the highway, even within the city limits. So just something to be be mindful of. Thursday, very high winds, seeing some snow come through beginning late morning, early afternoon, and continuing throughout the rest of the day on Thursday. You can see by late in the evening, we're still going to see some of that snow clearing out until we get into Friday morning, leaving us with more cloud cover. Temperatures, though, as we head into tomorrow, we're still seeing above seasonal temperatures far up north. +7 is the expected high tomorrow. 3 and rain in La Ronge, 2 and cloudy for Prince Albert. Tomorrow, 5 and a mix of sun and cloud. We'll see a mix of sun and cloud in North Battleford with 2 as the expected high. Saskatoon 1 and -1 for Yorkton with cloud cover. Over in the southwest, still very warm. Maple Creek is expecting to get another +12 day tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. Mainly sunny and 8 for Swift Current, 4 and a mix of sun and cloud for Moose Jaw. And in the southeast, a little cooler for Weyburn, 1 degree, cloudy there, 2 and cloudy in Estevan, and +4 and a mix of sun and cloud for Assiniboia. So for Regina, tonight we will dip below 0, but still well above the average low that we're usually sitting at in the -20s. -5 tonight, tomorrow 2 degrees with the winds at 15 kilometers an hour. So what's to come? Well, this is what's to come in your next 7 days. -1 on Thursday with the winds, like I mentioned, gusting up to 85 kilometers an hour. By Friday, -7, sunny, but winds still quite high, gusting up to 65 kilometers an hour. By the time the weekend arrives, we'll see those temperatures still warmer than your average, but still below 0. -2 on Saturday, winds up to 55. Sunday, -9, winds up to 75. And it's not until we get into the beginning of next week where we start to see those winds calm, but the temperatures will be back into that seasonal range. -10 on Monday, and by Tuesday seeing some snow, and -9 is the expected daytime high. So it's going to be very windy to round out this week and heading into the weekend, but we're still seeing above seasonal temperatures until next week.
It'll be interesting for sure that Thursday with the wind and the snow. So
yeah, just be mindful if you are if you're heading out anywhere.
All right, thanks, Sabine.
You bet.
Canadian transportation authorities logged more than 100 reports of disruptive air passengers last year. The incidents include passengers accused of inappropriate touching, investigating fights, uttering threats, sneaking onto flights. Of course, that would cause travel disruption. Scott Hurst has more.
We're talking rage at cruising altitude and sometimes even before flights get off the ground. Canadian transportation authorities logged more than 100 reports of disruptive air passengers last year. The incidents caused numerous flights to be delayed, diverted, or turned back to the gate. In many cases, the passengers causing the disturbances were arrested or escorted off the plane by police. The 114 reports include a wide range of bad behavior, including refusing to return to a seat, vaping on board, uttering threats, assault, and indecent exposure, just to name a few. 45 of the 114 reports were filed by flights departing or arriving in Calgary, by far the most for any Canadian city. It is, as we know, a major WestJet hub, followed by Toronto with 27 reports and Vancouver with 21. In a statement, a WestJet and Sunwing spokesperson said the airlines have zero tolerance for this behavior. Air Canada tells CTV News the number of reported incidents is a small fraction of the millions of flying customers every year. The reports of bad behavior, however, are actually trending downwards over the past few years, but union reps for flight attendants tell CTV News cases of disruptive passengers often go unreported, depending on the severity of the incidents. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead, a look at the rule changes and other proposals on the agenda at this year's CFL winter meetings.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
CFL winter meetings taking place in Calgary this week. A long list of discussion topics on the agenda, most notably the league rule changes that were announced last September. Donovan Mace has more.
After sweeping rule changes were announced by the CFL in September, the league is taking the next step toward their implementation and exactly what they may look like on the field.
Once the 25 season concluded, you have a little bit more time to look at those things and some of the things that are being proposed.
It's a part of the league's winter meetings this week in Calgary as coaches and general managers discuss the new rules with the league for the first time.
We're here to sort of figure all this out and make it work, right? So I'm looking forward to hearing all sorts of different thoughts and perspectives.
I want to know kind of the details of it and more the intricacies of what we're talking about. So, I think that some of them are outside the box, which are interesting.
Other topics and potential changes are also on the agenda.
Straight to the left, backs in, over the plane to the goal line.
Including modifications to short yardage plays, overtime formats, playoff structure, free agency, and a review of the replay center's mandate.
Sometimes there's things that come up that you didn't think that you had too much of an opinion on, and then you realize like, oh man, actually I do. So just excited to hear everybody's brain.
Make sure you don't change too much, because you'll never know which rule made the difference, which one did. I mean, play football and then figure it out from there.
In his State of the League address at the Grey Cup in November, CFL Commissioner Stuart Johnston reiterating his office's commitment to a uniquely Canadian game.
The new rules embrace innovation and perpetual improvement while protecting what makes Canadian football special.
Adding rules like 3 downs and 12 players on the field are not going anywhere. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
It will be a rematch of the 2024 WHL final tonight as the Moose Jaw Warriors travel to Portland to face the Winterhawks.
Off Gage Nagel on the forecheck. He's wrapped up by Savage. Got the puck free. Here's Aiden Ziprick, who scores.
Warriors are 1-1 on their American road trip. They beat Wenatchee on Friday, but they lost to Tri-Cities on Saturday. Aiden Ziprick continues to be one of the top scoring defensemen in the league, scoring a pair on Saturday, climbing to 11 goals on the season. Warriors are 3 points up on Regina for 7th in the conference. Game time, 9 o'clock Saskatchewan time.
Still ahead, there's no prairie positivity over the cost of living.
Welcome back. We're going to take a look at your rural forecast for tomorrow. Still seeing above seasonal temperatures, cloudier conditions in some parts, but many areas still seeing above zero temperatures as well, including areas like Melfort, Watrous, and Wynyard. +1 is the expected high, 0 for Hudson Bay, and then a little warmer up in Meadow Lake, 5 degrees there, 4 from Lloydminster and Spiritwood, and 3 for Kindersley, seeing a mix of sun and cloud. When we get further down, close to the southern border, even warmer temperatures, especially in the southwest there, 5 for East End Cypress, 4 for Rockland, Assiniboia, and for Leader, 12 degrees for Maple Creek, +6 for Coronach, and then a little bit more cloud cover in the southeast there, Carlisle and Kenora -1, 0 for Broadview, and Lumsden and Pilot Butte, 2 degrees is the expected high. If we take a closer look at Carnduff, where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel, -1 is the expected high for Carnduff tomorrow, seeing a mix of sun and cloud, -1, but the wind chill will be -5, and then as we head into the evening, we will see those temperatures dip into the double digits, about -10, and that's all I got.
I think she has more, but we ran out of time. A well-known family-owned donut store in Regina has had to pause operations for a bit after a fire broke out inside the establishment early Monday morning. Damian Smith has more.
Vuong Pham, owner of Country Corner Donuts, surveys the damage caused by a fire early Monday morning. At 4 a.m., he received a notification that his long-lasting business had caught on fire. Pham rushed over, doing his best to air out the smoke.
And I ran to the back door, opened the back door. When about 2 minutes, and when I come back here, the smoke a little bit later.
A day later, customers are still coming in to get their donuts and coffee, only to find the shop is temporarily closed.
Everybody stop by here. Some just say sorry, some hug me, some shake a hand.
Country Corner Donuts has been a staple on the corner of Dewdney Avenue and Broad Street for the past 37 years.
This one raised my family. We not get rich, but at least we have comfortable to living and children success in their life, and mean a lot. That's why I stay here. I don't want to go anywhere.
Despite the setback, Pham sees the light at the end of the tunnel as he looks to reopen as soon as he can.
Keep going. too young to retire.
CTV News reached out to Regina Fire and Protective Services for comment and was told an update is forthcoming. Damien Smith, CTV News, Regina.
A new survey suggests 7 out of 10 residents in Saskatchewan and Manitoba expect the cost of living to get worse in 2026. The MNP Consumer Debt Index found 72% of respondents anticipate higher living costs. 56% expect more housing pressure. 53% are preparing for a worsening economy and inflation stress. Half of residents in those provinces say that they are within $200 of not being able to pay bills each month, up 7 points from the last survey. Significantly less residents report having 6 months of emergency savings, down 10% this quarter, and almost 2 out of 3 residents say they need interest rates to come down from the current 2.25%. All right, let's go to the farm markets. Canola street price stayed the same, $571.42 per ton, while the futures price is up $11.90 to $632.80 per ton. Amber durum wheat stays the same, $274.92 per ton. Red spring wheat's down $1.48 to $250.32 per ton. Feed barley is at $213.59 per ton, while flax is $626.04 per ton. Those prices courtesy of Bunge. As for your markets, both on the way down, TSX slightly by 4 points, the Dow Jones by 398. The Canadian dollar, it went down a little bit, 0.02% to 72.04 cents US. Commodities, gold down almost $11. West Texas Intermediate crude up $1.62, while Western Canadian Select crude was up 87 cents a barrel. While gas in Regina has not moved, you most find it at $1.17.9 per liter.
The U.S. president says the trade deal negotiated during his last term in office is now irrelevant. Trump was touring a Michigan Ford plant today when he spoke about CUSMA, saying, "We could have it or not, it wouldn't matter." The deal is supposed to be reviewed this year, but Washington called off early negotiations late last year after an Ontario-sponsored ad campaign about tariffs upset the U.S. president. Algoma Steel says it expects fourth quarter losses of between $95 and $105 million. The Ontario-based firm has been hit hard by a 50% U.S. tariff on the metal. The company recently announced it's laying off 1,000 employees. 2/3 of Canadians surveyed say they plan to cut back on spending this year. That's a big leap from last year, when about half of those surveyed by TD said they intended to spend less. When you drill down, younger Canadians seem determined to cut by eating out less and reducing retail spending. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Coming up tonight after the newscast, little Will Trent, followed by High Potential, The Rookie, Best Medicine.
What's that?
It's a new doctor show. It has a... Oh, he was on a show. Tune in. You'll see who I'm talking about.
All right.
Well, tell me if it's the best. Autism advocates are celebrating release the first ever Barbie on the Spectrum. So the new doll is part of Mattel's Fashionistas collection, which includes dolls with a range of skin tones, hair textures, body types, health conditions.
Yeah, the new Barbie doll has a gaze that shifts slightly to the side, reflecting how some people with autism avoid direct eye contact. She wears pink noise-canceling headphones to reduce sensory overload and holds a pink tablet as an alternative communication device. As for her dress, it's purposefully flowy, loose-fitting, and short-sleeved, a nod to how some people with autism prefer to keep fabric from touching their skin as much as possible.
There we go.
Nice to see that. All right, ice fishing is starting to catch on in South Korea.
Yeah, except do it a little different. No lines, no rods, just jump in the water, grab a fish.
What?
For those who prefer the classic method, that's available as well. But ice fishing is a part of a winter festival happening this month in South Korea. It attracts up to 65,000 visitors a day. So that is the, well, both hands.
Wow.
That is the actual ice fishing one. You're not diving in and just grabbing a fish.
Oh, hello? Are you there?
Here, fishy, fishy, fishy.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah, that's the kind of lure you would use.
Hey guys,
Here, fishy.
Are you there?
I don't think it's going to work.
Oh. All right.
Go fish.
Bye.